So when you're doing writing, listen to me.
Yes, when I'm doing writing.
When you're doing writing, when you write, how do you approach structure? Because I think that's something that a lot of screenwriters and writers in general have problems with. Structure is a roughness.
The two things that are probably, for me, the most important in writing are structure and logic, story logic.
Okay.
The idea that I create a world and a universe that makes sense. That doesn't mean that it's a real universe or a real world. It can be as fanciful as you can imagine. But you want to be able to track the motivation of the characters and understand why they behave the way they behave. And that's one of the things that, for me, structure and character are really intimately tied together, because it is what the character does, the behavior that they have, that makes the choices for the story. In other words, the example I use in my book, I think, is that, you have one of the first films that Sylvester Stallone did was a Woody Allen movie where he's a mugger.
On the train.
It was called Bananas.
Yeah.
And he's a mugger on a train. And if you switched those parts and you put Sylvester Stallone seated on the bench and, somebody like Woody Allen coming in and messing with people, how does it change that? Well, obviously, those characters make very different choices. So every individual person, their lives unfold a certain way. There's a movie with Diane Lane and, Unfaithful.
Yeah.
And, there was a character that was played by Richard Gere as this kind of devoted husband who's being betrayed. And throughout the film, he's very sympathetic. And I'm going to do a spoiler. I apologize to anybody who hasn't seen the film.
It's too many years.
But,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's been long enough. I think the pain is gone. So at the end of the film, he confronts his wife's lover, and in a moment of passion picks up a globe, a snow globe, and smashes him in the head and kills him, completely out of character. And you believe it and understand it 100%. Nobody walks out of that movie going, well, he would not do that. So that's what I mean by, understanding
Logic.
The motivation of the characters, that becomes a pivotal moment of the story, because then it becomes, here is this good, decent guy. Now what's he going to do? And he ends up, of course, going and you see him outside the police station getting ready to turn himself in. So one of the things that I look at is that kind of clarity in who the people are. So to understand structure, I really have to understand, one, the world of the character. Where are they? What kind of universe are they in? And then the other is that character. Who are they at their core? What are their values? Sometimes I get like these little flashes of gameplay where, you have to decide their stats, how much intelligence and how much power and how much, speed and all the different things that make up who they are, because that's going to determine the choices that they make.
It is. It's about. It's kind of like Captain America turns into Tony Stark all of a sudden. He starts being the doing the wisecracks and starts being that character. I'm like, well, that doesn't make a lot of logical sense in that world. You have to stay within the rules that you've created for this universe. And I'll
give you a slightly better example.
Okay.
If you saw Superman versus Batman.
Oh,
okay.
Don't get me started.
So, and we have a moment where these two, superheroes are going at each other, and Batman is ready to kill Superman. And he's got him pinned down with a kryptonite spear that will kill him. Mm-hmm. And out of something, Superman says, Martha.
The stupidest.
Batman says, why did you say Martha? And he says, well, that's my mother's name. He says, that's your mother's name. That's my mother's name. Hey, Goomba, let's go.
So, it is the stupidest.
To me, that was a moment of character logic that just completely destroyed that film for me. Not that I was with it before that.
Was that what I was going to say? Was that the moment that you got lost?
No. but that was the one that was most glaring for me because I went, here are these two guys that are killing each other, and the idea that the guy who has in Batman's eyes murdered half of Metropolis, shouldn't be destroyed because they have a mother. And the next step, here we have a universe where Superman is one of the most powerful beings. Batman has almost killed him. He's lying on the floor, and Batman says to him, and I'm paraphrasing here, hey, I know you're probably the most powerful being in the world, but you've been through a lot right now. Just rest. I know your mother's about to be murdered, but I'll go gas up my bat jet. I'm sure it's all ready to take off. I'll go save her. Yes, shooting through the window, I might hit her, but I'll try not to. I'm going to rescue her and bring her back. You just hang out. Don't worry about the flying thing. Do your thing. It's like, what are you talking about? That's Superman. He jumps up. He go gets his mother. Why are you getting his mother in this plane where you're going to shoot machine gun fire? It just was insane.
I love that you're trying to create some logic of one of the worst films in recent history.
No.
I mean, that's like,
I am not.
I know. You know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Of course there's no logic in it. And let's not even get into Justice League. That's a whole other conversation.
But that film suffered for that. And you look at the DC versus the Marvel universe. Marvel tends to have within the world very logical, very well thought out structure. And that structure has to do, the other thing about structure people talk about, and it's changed over the years a little bit. It used to be that you could have a slow burn. You could have a story that kind of rolls out. And now you really need to hook the audience immediately. You've got to get into the story quickly. You've got to build the suspense or the comedy or the drama or whatever you're building and get to the heart of the story. So what becomes a little more difficult now is filling the story with what is compelling to an audience. And that becomes really the bottom line.